If you ask me to identify a skill that, when practiced, can unequivocally enhance one's life, I would say that the answer is unquestionably empathy. This is because genuine empathy necessitates active listening, challenging one's own prejudices and biases, and engaging in self-reflection. These actions not only enhance interpersonal relationships but also lead to a more fulfilling life. Let's face it, we are inherently social animals, and the ability to connect with others has been a fundamental aspect of our survival since the dawn of humanity. And empathy, according to empathy researcher Jamil Zaki, is the psychological superglue that fosters cooperation and kindness, laying the foundation for human connection. This, therefore, makes empathy a must-learn life skill. And in this video today, I'll be delving into the various facets of empathy, what it is, and how you can cultivate this essential life skill. So if this is something that you're interested in, please stay tuned and let's delve right in. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Cynthia, and on this channel I talk about metaphysics, psychology, and everything in between. Before we delve into today's video, I'd like to please request you to support this channel by clicking on the subscribe button below and follow us on these social media platforms. Now, let's delve right in. Let's begin by defining what empathy is. Empathy, according to psychologist Carl Rogers, involves seeing the world through the eyes of others and not seeing your world reflected in their eyes. At its core, empathy is the awareness of others' feelings and emotions. And it's a key element in emotional intelligence, and it's also the link between the self and others. To truly embody empathy, you must transcend your own personal perspectives and try to comprehend the feelings, the emotions, motivations, and viewpoints of others. Recent neuroscience research indicates that 98% of people, excluding those with psychopathic tendencies, have the innate ability to empathize, and this ability is attributed to specialized brain cells called mirror neurons that are responsible for empathy and compassion. These neurons activate when an individual performs or observes a specific action, facilitating the understanding of others' behavior. This ability to understand creates an emotional contagion, enabling us to connect with another person's emotional experience. Before we proceed, it is crucial that we distinguish between the meanings of empathy and sympathy. Personally, like many others, I used to confuse these two terms. When you feel sympathy for someone, you identify with their situation, but while keeping an emotional distance. Feeling sympathetic does not necessarily connect you to other people, and therefore, for this reason, sympathy rarely compels you into action. In contrast, empathy is when you understand and feel other people's emotions as if they were your own. And perhaps the best distinction between empathy and sympathy I've ever come across is from Dr. Brené Brown, the author of The Power of Vulnerability. She says that sympathy is when you see someone in a deep hole and decide to stay on high ground while communicating with them from above. And empathy entails climbing into the hole, sitting next to them, and communicating that incredible healing message of you are not alone. Now that we have clarified these two terms, we can get back to the main topic, which is empathy. Here are the three types of empathy. The psychologist Dr. Daniel Goleman, author of Emotional Intelligence, categorizes empathy into three distinct categories. Number one, cognitive empathy. This is basically knowing how the other person feels and what they may be thinking. It is sometimes called perspective taking. It's like when you watch a movie or you read a novel and you are able to grasp the protagonist's emotions. But however, since you lack an intimate and personal relationship with this protagonist, you can only empathize with them cognitively. So at its simplest, cognitive empathy is getting it. It is a very intellectual approach to empathy, but can prove particularly helpful when dealing with people to whom you are averse, or if there's something about them that repels you. It can be the perfect empathy to use in such situations. And then number 2, we have emotional empathy. Now, this is when you feel with the person physically, as if their emotions are contagious. This is when another person's emotions register to you viscerally. So for example, if you see someone who is sad, it makes you also feel sad. That is emotional empathy. And then finally, number 3, we have empathetic concern. Now, this is when you go beyond, when you understand someone's predicament and feel with them, but then these feelings then spontaneously move you to act. It is when you take feelings into action. And now that you understand the different types of empathy, you may be wondering to yourself, which one is the most effective empathy to focus on, right? Well, this depends. You have to discern and navigate and utilize these different types of empathy effectively, depending on the context and the emotions involved. Now that you know the different types of empathy, let's delve into the importance of empathy. Why must you learn this essential life skill? Here are the reasons. The importance of empathy. Number 1, empathy fosters healthy relationships. Healthy relationships, whether platonic or romantic, thrive on empathy and understanding. This is because no two people are ever going to think exactly alike, and no two people are ever going to have the same experiences. Both people in relationships bring their own ideas, life experiences, and struggles. And therefore, if you're only thinking of your interests, the other people in your relationships will suffer. And have you noticed that when someone expresses empathy towards you, you feel understood and accepted, and that your feelings are valued and as well as validated? Well, I'm sure you have. So when you invest time and effort and try to express empathy towards other people in your life, they too will feel loved and cared for. And empathy has been shown to enhance cooperation and forgiveness while reducing aggression and judgment. These attributes undoubtedly foster healthy relationships. Importance number 2, empathy enhances work performance. Empathy is a vital part of a smooth working relationship. Without it, it's much easier to fall into disputes and disagreements. For things that require a group effort, it is extremely important to take the time to relate to your co-workers. In his book, Homo Deus, Yuval Noah Harari points that neither intelligence nor tool-making in isolation can fully explain Homo sapiens' dominance over the world. He contends that the pivotal factor in our species' global quest lies in our unique capacity to establish extensive connections among individuals. The ability to foster connections and coordinate collective efforts towards shared objectives emerges as the singular means by which we achieve substantial progress as a species. As you may already be aware, empathy is the essential element for establishing connections with others. If you are empathetic, you will also find it easier to accommodate different work styles and achieve common goals with minimal effort. So, last but not least, empathy builds a better world. In today's increasingly polarized and divided society where people are more entrenched in their own perspectives and they're quick to judge and slow to listen, empathy has become infinitely important. Without it, the world would be a much darker and less functional place to live. Empathy serves as a bridge that breaks down barriers and fosters understanding. And a key element in this is imagination. You have to try and imagine yourself in another person's shoes before making any kinds of judgments about them, So you have to set aside your impressions and preconceived notions and try to consider how things would have been if you were in their place. Empathy also plays a crucial role in addressing some of the world's most pressing issues, such as climate change and social justice, and pushes people to dive in and help when there are major disasters. By empathizing with the experiences of those disproportionately affected by these challenges, we can better understand the urgency of acting, thereby mobilizing communities and nations to work together to make the world a better place. Former US President Barack Obama once said, "The biggest deficit that we have in our society and in the world right now is an empathy deficit. We are in great need of people being able to stand in someone else's shoes and see the world through their eyes." So, heeding his counsel, let's now delve into the 4 attributes of empathy that were identified by nursing scholar Dr. Teresa Wiseman that can aid us in refining this skill. So, the attributes of empathy basically point you towards what you need to do in order to express empathy towards others. So, number 1 is perspective taking. So you have to take on the perspective of someone else. And when you do so, you have to take their perspective as truth. Then number 2 is being non-judgmental. So when you judge someone else's situation, you discount their experiences. So if you're to take on the perspective of another person, you have to do so with an open mind, as this will assist you in challenging your own personal prejudices while discovering commonalities with others. Otherwise, you are apt to categorize those outside your immediate circle as the other, the enemy, the bad person, right? So don't be judgmental, be non-judgmental. Then the other attribute is understanding someone else's emotions and feelings, right? So you can only do so if you put yourself aside and focus on them, watch and wonder, and do so by not categorizing them, right? Instead, just wonder, observe them, and try to understand their feelings and grasp their emotions, right? And then finally, the last one is communicating those emotions and your understanding of their feelings. So by doing so, you are communicating that you not only understand their emotions, but you also validate them. And validating their emotions and feelings means that you accept them and acknowledge them, right? In that you see and understand what they are going through. This, my friend, is how you express empathy. And so at this point, I'll be remiss if I concluded this video without talking about the darker aspects of empathy. Here they are. Associate Professor of Psychology at the University at Berkeley, Michael Pollan, says that over-identifying with someone else's emotions can be stressful, leading to a cardiovascular stress response similar to what you would experience if you were in the same painful or threatening situation. Therefore, empathizing with others can be draining if not correctly done. So understanding the responsiveness of your mirror neuron system is essential, because it reminds you of about protecting yourself from discomfort that is not your own. And the point of empathy is to try and get into someone else's shoes, but there's a limit to it. You cannot become them, and neither should you. For example, if you're dealing with a toxic person, try to understand their emotions, but up to a certain point. Otherwise, their energy will suck you in and rub off on you. So setting clear, healthy boundaries and keeping a certain balance is essential, because if you go too far into someone else's psyche, you risk losing yourself. But if you avoid authentically getting interested in other people's experiences, then you lose that part of that integral part of the human experience. So be empathetic, but then use discernment to know to what point you need to express your empathy. It's very, very vital. So, in conclusion to this video, empathy is essential. However, it is not a skill that you can miraculously hone overnight. you have to make the deliberate choice to invest the time and effort, seizing every opportunity while interacting with others to practice it. And it's also crucial to understand that empathy necessitates a certain degree of vulnerability. Dr. Brene Brown eloquently articulated this concept, stating that empathy is feeling with other people and it's a vulnerable choice. This is because you have to connect with something within yourself that knows that feeling. To genuinely connect with others, therefore, you have to be willing to open up about your own feelings and experiences. This is because empathy thrives. It's a reciprocal process that thrives on mutual understanding. I will leave you with a quote from Harper Lee's classic novel, To Kill a Mockingbird. You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb inside of his skin and walk around in it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and let me know down in the comment section what you thought about it. I'm very interested to know. And please remember to support this channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you for watching this one. Bye.